Hey YouTube, we're going to start the second video with more of a vehicle history lesson. A lot of people want to, when they shop for a car, they want something with some history, with some uh, uh, pure breed, purebred legacy and lineage. But a lot of people think that, Henry Ford and the Ford Model T was the first car, and the Ford Motor Company was the first. Well, they wasn't. Matter of fact, the first vehicle that was ever made was Carl Benz, which later became Mercedes-Benz. That was the first vehicle ever made. It was Mercedes or a Benz. Ford gets the title of being the first mass produced automobile. Uh, Henry Ford kind of perfected the factory automotive production, and with the Model A. And the famous thing for that was he said you could have it in any color you want as long as it's black. Um, Later on, everything was black. Vehicles were black in the early years, and then they started using different color palettes to attract more buyers. Hey, if I can make this thing white or red or any other color but black, it might attract another buyer. So that's kind of the early history of the automobile and how the industry started. Yeah, Henry Ford gets credit for the first mass-produced vehicle, but the first vehicle credit goes to Carl Benz. And so how that ties in is, a lot of people, when they go to shop for a car, they might want brand, or there might be brand loyalty. Hey, my dad worked at Ford, or my uncle worked at GM, or whatever. And so they want to stay loyal to that brand, and that's good. Matter of fact, the world could use a lot more of that. Because I think if the customers would be loyal to a brand, then the brand would then know who its customer base is. Because I think in the past few years, the automotive industry has kind of went under this whirlwind of, I don't think any manufacturer knows who its buyer is. They just want to move units. So they're doing too much changing, too much evolving rapidly to try to move a unit out the door and attract people, but they're not perfecting it before it's out into production. And that's where you run into so many recalls and things like that. But as far as, if you're the kind of buyer, you're going to run out there and you're going to say, hey, I want something from good old America. You're pretty much limited, because unless you understand fully that just because it's an American brand or it has a history of being an American brand doesn't mean it's 100% made in the USA. To be a complete American vehicle, it's got to be an American company. It's got to be most of the R&D, which is research and development, parts and labor, has to be sourced from the United States. So just because you go out and buy a brand new Ford, that don't mean you're 100% supporting the USA, because there's a lot of Fords that are the research and development and the assembly is done in Mexico, and parts are sourced from all over. And matter of fact, corporations are more about the bottom line, and they're going to unfortunately make cuts and sacrifices in order to save that bottom line. So if you are starting out and you're going, I'm going to go buy an American vehicle, well, you're pretty much limited to about 3 or 4 options right out of the gate. Pretty much right now, in 2023, the most American-made vehicle is Tesla. So, and if you're not in the market for an EV, Tesla's out. So I praise Elon Musk for what he's built with that company, but I don't think America's fully ready for the EV switch just yet. There's not enough infrastructure to support it currently. Will it get there? Probably, but not in 2023. But I do see I'm a little 50-50 on the EVs right now. I can see the point of saving the environment, but also at the same time, I'm a little skeptical about the monopoly that pretty much the electric companies are going to have once that, if when that happens. Um, so I'm just not quite 100% sold on the saving money aspect of it, because who's going to stop the electric companies from jacking up electricity rates once all these EVs take over? Because then you're going to be paying out the wazoo to heat and cool your house and fuel up your car. So don't make fuel savings your number one reason for switching, basically, is what I'm trying to say. But back on the other, so Tesla is a American, fully, USA based company, R&D, assembly, that sort of thing. The next option for you is Chevy Corvette, built and assembled right here in my home state. But the thing about it is, with the Corvette, unless you're looking for a two-seater sports car, that limits you there. There's other routes that now Honda, a lot of Hondas are American made. Research and development is done here in the U.S. Like the Honda Odyssey, I think the Pilot. So Honda vehicles are going to be, if you want to say, hey, I want to buy a more American vehicle. Of course, Toyota plant's right down the road from my house, and they crank out Camrys, and used to be the Avalons. They quit production of the Avalon, but the Camry, I think a Lexus ES, they built the Lexus ES over there, but thousands of Toyota Camrys rolling off the assembly line every week here. But the thing about it is, it's not a fully American made car just because it's assembled here. The biggest chunk of the profits are going to Japan. Now the profits for like Ford, GM, Chrysler, they're going to go to the corporation, but actually Chrysler is owned by Stellantis, and they've changed hands more times than something I can't really say on this channel, but that's the fact of the matter with them. So the bulk of the profit's going to go to who's at the helm. And so with Chrysler under the ownership, or Dodge under the ownership of Stellantis, that's who's getting the biggest profits from the sale of those cars. And with anything in marketing or any product on the line, if you're trying to 100% back the U.S. economy when you purchase a vehicle, just like with anything else, once you purchase it new, that is what tacks onto the statistic. Once you purchase secondhand, you're no longer contributing to the statistic, other than the statistic of how many used vehicles are sold in each quarter or whatever. But as far as the branding goes and that statistic, once it's sold the first time around new, that's who marked that check on the statistic box. So if I go out and I purchase a brand new Mustang, well, I just gave the stat tick to Ford and the Mustang and that sort of thing. But if I go out and buy me a used one from an individual down the street, that's not, it's already into play. But when it's sold off the line the first time around, it's already in play. So it's, no tick against anyone at that point, because it's already into play. Just the same as if you go out and buy a Louis Vuitton bag, brand new, it's you put a tick on their sales stats. But You buy it from the neighbor, it's already into play, so it kind of doesn't matter at that point. You're just buying it because you just like the bag or you want it. But with the vehicles, you know, I don't think a lot of people are fully aware that just because you're buying a Ford or you're buying a GM or you're buying a Dodge, that you're 100% supporting the American economy. Because the way, since the free trade agreement years and years ago happened, it's slowly intermixed so many different levels of manufacturing into one that you're really supporting a lot of economies when you purchase one product. Because yeah, you buy a Dodge and it's known as an American brand, but those parts probably came from Mexico, Japan, China, you know, Indonesia, all kinds of different manufacturing companies came together to assemble that vehicle. So just wanted to make this video, kind of give you a little brief rundown of a lot of the vehicle's history, and a lot of things you look at. The VIN number tells where the point of assembly. So like if, for instance, I used to own a Lexus and it had a J, the VIN number started with a J. Well, that means it was assembled in Japan. So it's got a Japan point of origin. You go out and buy a Toyota Tacoma, although you might get one that was built in Japan, it might start with a J, or you might get one that starts with a 3. So a VIN number starts with a 3, it was assembled in Mexico. If you get a VIN number that starts with 1, well, it was assembled in the USA. So you're gonna have a lot of Honda Odysseys, the Teslas, I think a Lincoln Corsair is assembled in the USA, and a lot of its R&D is done here. And you can look up and there's articles out there about the most American-made vehicles. So if you want to use that to make your decision on what vehicle to look for, there's those educational resources out there online. But I just thought I'd make this video and kind of pass that along to you. So thanks for watching. Make sure you give this video a like if you liked it. Make sure you comment if you want to ask a question or ask for clarification. I'll try to check the comments as much as possible, but make sure to check that like button, subscribe, and hit that notification bell. Let's get this channel going. All right. Thanks, y'all. Have a great day. God bless.